Hare Krishna, we are discussing chapter number 12, verses 13 to 15. Let us start with 13 to 14. Advesta sarva bhutanam maitra karuna yevacha nirmamo nirahankaraha samadukha sukakshami santushta satatam yogi yatatma dhruna nishchayaha mayarpita mano buddhir yo madbhakta same priyaha. One who is not envious but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself of a proprietor and is free from false ego, and who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me, such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. Hare Krishna. So this verse is from the chapter number 12, and from the verses 13 to verse 20, which is like the last verse of this chapter, called Devotional Service, also called as Bhakti Yoga. These 8 verses talk about the qualities of a devotee. So it is expected that the devotee of Krishna has these qualities. Or otherwise, it is expected that the devotee introspects and tries to get these qualities. So these are the qualities which are mentioned in this 13 to 14, and then we will go to the verse number 15, and then we will discuss. Is there anybody who wants to read the shloka?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, can I?
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna. Adveshta sarva bhutana
The next one,
maitra.
I'm sorry, verse number 15. Let's go to 15.
15. Sorry, Prabhuji.
No problem.
Verse number 15. Yasmano dijite loko lokano dijite chaya harsham harshe bhayodveger mukto ya sachame priya. Translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki jai. He by whom no one is put into difficulty and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is equipoised in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety, is very dear to me. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. So these are some of the very wonderful qualities that Lord Shri Krishna is talking about. So let's discuss all of the shlokas and the translations. Okay. So the first quality which is said here is that Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam. That is Adveshta, one who is not an enemy to all the living entities. So Krishna consciousness can be summarized in 2 words. Jivedaya Krishna Nama, Sarva Dharmasar. Means the entire essence of dharma is this. Jivedaya. That is, we should be compassionate towards the living entities. And Krishna Nama, to be a devotee of Krishna. This is the essence of dharma. Why should we have Jiva Daya? Is explained in the Kapila-gītā by Lord Kapila-deva. In the Kapila-gītā, Lord Kapila-dev explains this to his mother Devahuti, that anybody who fails to recognize the presence of the super soul, Paramatma, Lord Krishna, in the hearts of every living entity, does not matter whether one is a friend or an enemy, or whether a person is a superior or an inferior or an equal, we should have this equal vision. We should not have a differentiated vision. It's a very important point. Lord Kapila-deva goes on and says, the person who does not have this equanimous vision, who does not see the same soul and the same super soul. Of course, the soul is individual and different in every living entity or in every body. But the nature of that spirit soul, individual spirit soul, is the same. It's not any different. But the super soul, Paramatma, is seated in the heart of every living entity. Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hriddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. That means Lord Shri Krishna is seated in the heart of every living entity. So we have to understand the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every living entity, and therefore we have to act accordingly. Again, it is not said that you behave similarly with everything. You understand with the vision that every living entity is the same, but according to the status of that living entity, we act. That means if the living entity is inferior, then we show dana. That means we show compassion. If that living entity is equal, then we show friendship. If that living entity is superior, then we show mana. That means respect. It's called dana, mana, and maitri. This is the recommendation of Lord Kapila. How do you worship Paramatma in every living entity? Is by dealing accordingly with each and every living entity. If you see somebody who is superior to you, then we pay respectful obeisances. If we see somebody who is an equal, then we make friendship with them. If we see somebody who is inferior to us due to some reason, due to different kinds of circumstances, due to karma, then we show compassion, and then we must be charitable towards the inferiors. In that way, we should avoid being envious to any kind of living entity. That is the meaning of Adveshta Sarvabhutanam. Maitra Karuna Yevacha, should be friendly to all the living entities. Nirmamo Nirahankaraha. That means one should not think that I am the proprietor, I am the doer. It's called mama. Right? It's called aham and mama. Aham means me. Mama means mine. We should give up this mentality of me and mine. Aham mameti. And one should be tolerant in dukkha and sukha. That is, one should be equal in both happiness and distress. And also one should be tolerant. Tolerance is a very, very important quality of a devotee. We can see it is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam. When Parikshit Maharaj was cursed, he had the capacity to counter curse that boy, the Brahmin boy who had cursed him to die within the next 7 days. He was very much competent to counter curse that boy, but he just accepted it as the will of the Supreme Personality of God. Right? So we can see like that various examples from the pure devotees given in the stories of Srimad Bhagavatam, that the devotees, they never retaliate. Even though they are provoked, even though they are being cursed, even though they are insulted, even if they are even hurt physically, or even if they are killed. This is what Srimad Bhagavatam says. That is the quality of a pure devotee. Tolerance, kshami, forgiving, santushtaha satatam, santushtaha, always very satisfied. A devotee is fully satisfied. Satatam yogi means always engaged in devotional service. A pure devotee, it is said one of the qualities is avyartha kalatvam. That means a pure devotee does not even waste 30 seconds in forgetting Krishna. He always remembers Krishna, and he's always worshipping Krishna, doing the service of Krishna in some way or the other. That is the quality of a pure devotee. Yata Atma, self-controlled, Dhrida Nishchayaha, very determined. We can see in the life of Srila Prabhupada. He went to the West. He went single-handedly at the age of 69, and he had nobody in the West to support him. Nor his god brothers were ready to help him out financially. And he was facing hurdles after hurdles after hurdles. And it happened one day that even his typewriter got stolen. But then he continued, he went on with determination. This is called Dhrida Nishchayaha, with determination. Maya arpita mana buddhi. That means one's mind and intelligence should be fixed on Krishna. These are the devotees. These are the qualification of a pure devotee. And Krishna is saying, Yo mad bhakta same priyaha. This verse or this line, Yo mad bhakta same priyaha, keeps repeating in all the shlokas from now on. What this means is, such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. So there are different grades of devotees. Okay. There's some devotees who are like neophyte devotees, and there's some devotees who are advanced devotees. Krishna is talking about the advanced devotees, right? Krishna likes these advanced devotees who are able to see the Paramatma in every living entity, one who respects every living entity, one who does not cause offense or harm, even by verbal abuse also. Such a devotee is said to be an elevated devotee. Right? These are the transcendental qualifications of a pure devotee. Right? The Srimad Bhagavatam also, there are the qualities that is given by the devotee. Tattenu kampam susamikshamano bhunjana yevatma kritam vipaka. This means whether a devotee is in distress or has fallen into difficulty, he thinks that it is Lord's mercy upon him. Whenever there is difficulty, we think, why did this difficulty come? And we become sad. But you know what? A pure devotee thinks in the opposite way. Whenever there is a good thing happening, he thinks that my pious credit is getting burnt away. Whenever there's something bad that happens, he thinks that, okay, that's good. Whatever misdeeds I've done in the past, they're getting exhausted. So that's a good thing. So let the difficulty continue. So it's okay if I'm in this difficulty. Let there be difficulty. And the pure devotee says that a pure devotee does not care whether a person is in Swarga or Naraka, whether he's in a heaven or hell, he doesn't care. The only thing a devotee seeks is devotional service. As long as he's able to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it does not matter whether it is heavenly pleasures or hellish discomfort. Right? Just like the Bhishma Pitamaha was on a bed of arrows. He was not complaining that it's such a pain for me. No, he was very comfortably seated there. It was very much painful. I mean, just imagine, it's a bed of arrows, right? It should be very, very painful, right? But then he's still very, very tolerant, and he's very tolerantly waiting for the Supreme Lord to come and for the time to come so that he can leave his body. He's tolerantly waiting like that, right? So he's not offending Lord Krishna when he's in front of him. Why did you do this? Why did you do this? He's not at all. He's very calm, quiet, and patient, right? Even in the distressful conditions, we should learn this, to be very calm and quiet, right? And a devotee is like that. A devotee even doesn't have an enemy at all. As for Yudhishthira Maharaj, he's also called as Ajata Shatru. That means even if you want to be an enemy, he cannot have an enemy. Even Duryodhana also finds it very difficult to consider Yudhishthira Maharaj to be an enemy because of his behavior. The way he behaves is so first class that even the worst of the enemies does not consider him to be an enemy. So instead of Yudhishthira Maharaj, Duryodhana tries to motivate himself by remembering about Bhima, right, or about Arjuna. That's how he gets motivation to fight. So that is called a pure devotee is Ajata Shatru, does not have an enemy at all. Right? He's very, very kind. And then he does not attach much importance to the pains and troubles pertaining to the body, because he knows that he is not the body. He knows that this is the soul. This is the reason why a devotee is not very much disturbed when there are difficulties, because he is fully convinced that I am not the body. He knows that this body, the nature of this body, material body itself is pain. The material body, the way it is constructed, is only meant for giving miseries. Miseries are prominent. There is happiness, but that happiness is very insignificant in front of the combinations of miseries that are possible through our material body itself within this material world. So therefore, knowing very well this point, that this world itself full of distress, dukkhalayam ashashvatam, a devotee is very tolerant and he's very satisfied with whatever comes by the grace of the Supreme Lord. He does not endeavor too much to achieve something with great difficulty. So whatever he gets, he is very always joyful. And he's called a perfect mystic. He is the perfect mystic. So, Santushta Satatam Yogi. So that means a devotee is called as a Satatam Yogi. Krishna is addressing him as a perfect mystic. There are different types of mystics, but among all of them, a devotee of Krishna is the best. Yoginamapi sarvesham madgati nantaratmane shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamumata. There are many yogis. There are some people who can hold their breath for a long time. There are some yogis who are very advanced in different kind of Vedic literatures. But then a devotee, a pure devotee of Krishna is said to be the best. It's called Paramamama. Parama Yoga. The best of all the yogis is Shraddhavan Bhajate Yoma, the one who with great faith worships Krishna. Doesn't matter the external circumstances. The external circumstances keep changing. But a pure devotee does not stop his devotional service. Take the case of Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj was put into so many difficulties by his father, Hiranyakashipu. He was repeatedly dissuaded not to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead and to worship his father, Hiranyakashipu, instead. Why are you worshipping Krishna? Worship me. Why are you chanting Hare Krishna? Just chant Hiranyakashipu Namah. Why are you doing this? And he tries to tell in every possible way, and then he starts punishing him, starts to give him some mortal punishments, which are very, very painful supposed to be. But then Prahlad Maharaj is the least disturbed. He's like very calm. He's completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord and he's protected. Right? So this is a very, very high standard. Very, very high standards. And Krishna is expecting that standards from the devotee. This is his expectation. Right? How do we become a devotee? How to become a good devotee that will please Krishna? This is what pleases Krishna. So to be fully Krishna conscious, that nobody is able to disturb. Such a devotee is very, very dear to Krishna. So if you do Krishna consciousness in that mindset, Krishna will accept. This is a very, very important part. Even Kapil Dev is saying, whatever temple worship that we do, if we do not have the realization that the Supreme Lord is there in every living entity, and if we continue to verbally, mentally, and physically abuse other living entities, Krishna says, I do not accept their temple worship. Period. Krishna is saying, I don't accept their worship at all. The people who do not realize that I am there in every living entity because they're scolding me. Right? So it's like you're indirectly or directly, the verbal abuse or physical abuse or whatever abuse that we're doing to other living entities is actually the trouble that we're giving to Krishna. Krishna is never pleased by that. Right? So a devotee is very, very calm and is tolerating everything. Even if he is put into difficulty and he's not getting disturbed, is he causing happiness or distress? Whether it be happiness or distress, he just thinks that, okay, here is happiness. It's like summer. Okay, sometimes there's summer. Here is distress. This is winter. So there's no question of lamenting that, oh, here is summer, here is winter. So summer and winter are two seasons which repeatedly come. Agama paino nityahatam stitikshasva bharata. Agama paino. They're not permanent. Summer is not permanent. Winter is not permanent. Happiness is not permanent. Distress is not permanent. A devotee is very, very calm and patiently waiting for that stage to pass. That's it. Let's take the case of Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was born in the Mohammedan family. And he was a pure devotee since his childhood. And he was a great follower of Lord Chaitanya. He was such a great follower. But he was not allowed inside the Puri Jagannath Mandir. He was not allowed inside because he was not a Hindu. He was a Muslim. But then he did not complain. He used to be always sitting in his ashram and chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra patiently. How many times? 3 lakh holy names, 192 rounds, 22 hours a day. He barely takes a break just for the maintenance of the body. 22 hours a day, he's chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And when the local Ramachandra Khan gets to know that here is where Haridas Thakur has become very famous among the locals, among the localites, everybody is looking at him like a great sadhu, santa, becomes very envious of him. He says, how dare this Haridas Thakur do this? Being born in the family of a Mohammedan family, he is doing these activities which are related to the Hindus. So let me do something about it. And then he tries to send a prostitute to disturb his bhajan. But then it happens that after 3 days of different kinds of allurements by that prostitute, she finally accepts Haridas Thakur as a pure devotee and she gives up. And when Ramchandra Khan gets to know about it, he becomes further agitated and he goes to the king and complains that, oh, my dear king, if we continue this, all the Hindus are going to become very strong. We should stop him. Then, okay, he said, maybe he's a pure devotee. We don't know. That's what the king says. No, he's not. He's a fake person. Please bring him and kill him. Then the king calls him to the court and asks him, why are you chanting this? We are from a different religion. You're not supposed to be doing all of this. Why are you doing these activities of the kafirs? Stop, mend your ways and convert back. Otherwise, I shall punish. Haridas Thakur gives back and says, it is the same. Religion names are different, but we are worshipping the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it is not possible for me to stop chanting the holy names of Krishna even for a moment. Even if you're going to cut me into pieces, all the pieces of my body are going to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Then he says, well, let us see. I will take you to the 22 marketplaces and I will get you beaten there. Then he says, if you can endure, if you're alive, then we will see that you are a great devotee. Then he's dragged and he is beaten in 22 marketplaces, right? So many marketplaces, continuously whipped. A normal mortal cannot take that, right? But Haridas Thakur endures all of that, right? And then at the end, like all the people who are whipping him, who are trying to kill him, they give up. They beg to Haridas Thakur that, please die. They give up. And then he acts as if he's dead and he's thrown into the waters. But then again, he comes floating in a river, chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Then the king realizes that here is a very great saint, pure devotee. So these are the golden standards of Krishna consciousness. So this attracts Lord Krishna. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so attracted to Haridas Thakur that every day he used to bring prasadam from Jagannath Puri himself. Just imagine, the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself is coming out of his temple. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Lord Krishna, is not different from Lord Krishna. He is Radha Krishna. So he is bringing the prasadam from the Jagannath Puri temple and he is delivering it to his devotee Haridas Thakur. And when Haridas Thakur became very old, he says, Haridas, you have become very old now. You can stop chanting. You are already liberated. Then Haridas Thakur says, my dear Lord, I cannot stop this. I can never stop chanting your holy names. My tongue will just continue to chant your holy names. This is impossible for me. I don't want any allurements. I don't want any kind of benedictions from you. So he says, all I want is like when I die, I should die in your lap. I should be seeing you and I should die in your lap. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu grants that. And then he happens to leave his body in the hands of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So you see, these are like the golden standards of devotional service. So we have to engross ourselves so much that any kind of external happiness and distress, all our fears and anxieties should not disturb us. That's like the best way to do Krishna consciousness, right? See what happens. Generally, a normal materialistic person, when there is something for sense gratification, right, he feels happy. And when there is lack of sense gratification, he feels sorry, envious, and starts lamenting that why I do not have it and why others have this sense gratification. And then when an enemy attacks, a normal person wants to retaliate. And he becomes fearful and he becomes anxious based on the external condition. He becomes dejected. but a devotee is transcendental to all these disturbances. Such a devotee is very, very dear to Lord Sri Krishna. Okay, Hare Krishna devotees. So I hope you got the essence of this shloka. And we will stop this. Thank you very much for joining. If you have any questions or if you want to add some points, please go ahead and add that. Hare Krishna. Any points that you want to add? Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam.
Dandavats. Hare Krishna.